So, I have been a unity minister for 38 years. I know how to pray unity style. I'm also a student of the science of mind. I'm a student of Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, Native American studies. And I would like to pray with you the way that I pray. And so I'm going to do that, but I want to ask of you, if anything that I say in my prayer doesn't make sense to your soul, just pretend like I didn't say it. Would you do that for me? Yeah. Now, I really want you to know that my prayers are very, very effective. And I ask you to believe that yours are too. I believe there is an ever-present presence everywhere that you and I are, that hears every thought, every feeling, every word. So not only watch your mouth, watch your thoughts. So take a deep breath, if you will. Let your shoulders drop. Relax your belly. And now I invite into this time of transformation the consciousness of Lord Christ, the Goddess Mary, Lord Buddha, I invite in the love and creativity of the Hindu pantheon, especially the goddess of abundance, Lakshmi, the god of success and removal of barriers, Lord Ganesh, the tremendous energy of the goddesses, Hindu goddesses, Durga, Saraswati, Parvati, and any others who would like to work with us today in this time of transformation. I invite in the wisdom of the ascended masters, especially Melchizedek, Saint Germain, Saint Jerome, and any others who would like to work with us today. We also invite in the loving compassion of the Bodhisattva, especially the Kuan Yin and Avalokitesvara, and any others who would be willing to work with us. We invite in as well the angelic realm, especially Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Zadkiel, Metatron, and any others, especially the guardian angels of every soul here. We invite in the four directions, the nature spirits, and all benevolent entities from all dimensions who are dedicated and committed to our spiritual evolution. We thank you for being here with us. We invite you to assist us in making a sacred breakthrough today to the next realm of rich abundance. Give us the courage, the wisdom, the love of self and others to do our part. We know that you're with us. We accept your assistance. We let go and let God be God in us right now. Forgiving ourselves completely, forgiving all others, we open our hearts to all the good that we withheld from ourselves in the past. We let it in now. In the name of all that's holy, in the name of the living Christ, we let these words be so. And because we allow them to be, then so they are. Amen and amen. So, one of the ways that you could assist me today is if you would be willing to ask your questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And the very question that you have could be a question that somebody else has, and they may not have the courage yet to ask it in public, so you'd be serving us all. I do ask you to stand and say your name and ask your question. The reason I ask you to stand is not to embarrass you, but the voice carries better. And it's just easier for us to hear your questions or your comments or your observations. So let me start again with my definition of prosperity. Prosperity for me is a vitally alive, healthy body for this God being that we are to express through. Prosperity is relationships that are joyous and satisfying and intimate and honest and nurturing and that work all the time. Prosperity is work that we love so much. It's not work, it's play. And prosperity is all the money we can spend. So, does that work for you?
Yes.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned this morning, I went through a real phase of real poverty as a young adult. I was a single mom, and we lived in a one-bedroom apartment. I was working 2 jobs, 16 hours a day, and we were just getting by, putting up with making ends meet and living from paycheck to paycheck. Now, folks, that is not living. That's just existing. And I believe in a God of love that wants us to win. Loves us so much that everything that you could possibly desire has already been made available to you. But you have to go claim it. And the way that you claim it is by coming into alignment with 4 very simple spiritual laws. Now, I discovered these. They're nothing new here. You've heard them all. But as I said earlier, the trick is to do them, to come into alignment with them. But I was raised in a fundamentalist church, and in my teenage years, I left that church because it just didn't satisfy my soul any longer. And at this time of my life, when I was a young adult with a young child, I was not churched. I hadn't found what I was looking for in a church. And so, but I did have a connection with the scriptures, and because I got that in that fundamentalist church in which I was raised, and I'm grateful for that. Because the Bible's been like a spiritual textbook to me. There's much of it that I still don't understand, but much of it feeds me deeply. So here I am, living in Conroe, Texas, a little East Texas town, and I've got 2, very reputable jobs, but one of them had a huge title, but I wasn't making any money. Not enough money to live on. And as I said earlier, I'm not stupid. I have all sorts of impressive looking pieces of paper that say I know an awful lot about some very unimportant stuff. And I could not make it. And so I'm disappointed in myself. And I'm embarrassed by, how I live. And, there were many days we didn't have any food in the house. And we lived on peanut butter crackers for weeks at a time. And I remember saving up for 3 months to buy my daughter a $14 doll for Christmas. For 3 months I had to save, and it was just ridiculous, and I didn't know how to get out of it. So I didn't have any money to buy any books, but I would go to the library and I'd pick up all, these, motivation books and Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill and Norman Vincent Peale and Zig Ziglar and I said earlier that there were a couple books by Catherine Ponder. Dr. Ponder has been my mentor for many years. And then they had the one book, The Prosperity by Charles Fillmore. And I knew there had to be a spiritual way to prosper. I knew that, you can prosper financially, just go rob a bank. But, the results of that is not exactly what I want in my life. So I wanted to be a way of integrity, but I didn't know how to get there. And I'm working as hard as I can work. And nothing's happening. And so I checked out these books and I would read them and I'd figure out, okay, they say do this, so I would set a goal and then I'd do this and I'd forgive a little bit and I'd do this. But I'd come to the chapter on tithing and I'd skip that, go to the next one. That didn't apply to me. I really felt that because I really believed there was not enough to go around. And folks, I know now there is. Do you realize there's no lack on this planet anywhere? There's enough food, enough fruit that falls off the trees and rots every single day to feed this planet thousands of times over. Now, we're working on distribution. That's a human problem. God has already provided. God has already provided for you everything that you could possibly desire. But so far, most humanity hasn't learned to claim it. Well, I learned to claim it the best way I know how. There are probably better ways in the future, but this is what works for me right now. Yeah? So, I would study all these books, but I would come to the chapters on tithing and skip those and go on to the next one. Now, what is a tithe? The word tithe means 1/10, literally. It does not mean 3%, does not mean 7%, does not mean what's left over after you pay the bills. It's 1/10. And what all these books said is that if you tithe, back where you're fed spiritually, your life will be blessed. Now, I didn't know that, and I didn't believe that, you know, because what I thought was a trick to get my money. You know, because all those preachers were yelling at, you know, when I was in this fundamentalist, that's all they yelled about on Sunday and on Wednesday. I knew it was a trick to get my money, and they weren't going to get it because I was smarter than they were. That's exactly how I felt about it. But look at my life. My life was a mess, you know. So I decided, okay, a lot of these people are smart people. They feel like it's a good thing to do. So as I said this morning, I researched it. I got a concordance out of the library, and I looked up every scripture in the Bible on tithing. And nothing hit me until I came to the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 10, and I read this. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, said Jehovah Lord of hosts, and prove me now, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Did you hear that? Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. Now for me, when I prayed about it, I figured out the storehouse is where the food is kept. And what is spiritual food? Spiritual food is that which causes us to remember who we are, wakes us up and shakes us up and gets us back on our spiritual pathway. So I figured out, okay, if I'm going to tithe, I have to give this tithe where I'm fed spiritually. So my process has been, every time I receive money, this is now for over 40 years, almost 50 now, almost 50 years, I would pray, God, thank you for this money, first step, because everything I get comes from God. Thank you for this money. Remind me where this tithe goes. Remind me where I've been fed. And sometimes it would go to one person who fed me spiritually, one teacher, one minister, one church. One time I tithed to a waitress in a coffee shop. This beautiful soul, I was feeling really kind of sorry for myself one day, and you know, I'd forgotten who I am. And I'm in this coffee shop, and just kind of, that kind of whiny prayer was going on inside of me. And this wonderful waitress would come over. She'd pat me on the shoulder, pour me a cup of coffee, and say something profound. About the third time she did that, the light went on. Oh yeah, I got it. God has brought me this far. God will take me the rest of the way. I got it. I called her back over. I said, look, what you said just now was so powerful to me, and I am so grateful. And my belief system is I must tithe where I'm fed spiritually, and you really fed me a banquet of spiritual food. So you would bless me if you would receive this tithe from me. Oh my God, big tears came in her eyes. She says, oh honey, I couldn't take that. I said, you must. You cannot rob me of my blessing. I must give this to you. What I got to find out about this beautiful soul that I don't think I would have known otherwise is 6 months out of every year, this woman serves the world as a waitress because she wants to. The other 6 months out of every year, she is a yogini, a yoga master, and she lives in an ashram. And she taught me some powerful, powerful truth. And I got to teach her about the law of tithing, so now she lives in a fancy ashram. God is not glorified by poverty. God is not glorified by suffering. God is not glorified by struggle. God is glorified when your light shines so brightly that others see God in you. And seeing God in you, they begin to know that somehow God is in them as well. Huh? So when I started this process of tithing years ago, the first 3 months, I made a commitment to do it for 6 months. In the first 3 months of my tithing, nothing much happened. I'll tell you a little bit later the thing that was amazing to me. Charles Fillmore says that the moment that you begin to tithe, your faith is increased 100-fold. And that's what happened for me when I started. But the first 3 months, nothing outward happened. And I kept tithing because I was committed. But at the end of that 3-month period, my income was doubled. At the end of the 6-month period of tithing, my income was tripled. Well, I wasn't going to stop there. I could tell something was happening here. At the end of my first year of tithing, I was receiving from the universe over $100,000 a year. Now, that was 45 years ago. That was a whole lot more money than it is today. A brand new home in the fanciest part of town, elegantly decorated. 2 of my own businesses. I didn't know how to do business. Brand new white Cadillac convertible, $14,000 diamond ring. There's a level if I want to go to New York tonight for dinner in the theater, I can do that as easily as I used to go to 7-Eleven. I know tithing works. I've done it for a lot of years, and I have never done without. And I live now a life that many consider a life of great wealth. I've been everywhere in the world I've ever wanted to go. Tibet, China, India, Tahiti, Australia, South America, Europe, all over the world. And I've taken my grandsons. Anybody remember the movie or the stage play Auntie Mame? I became Auntie Mame for my grandsons, and I've taken them all over the world. And always had the money to do it. You have the money to do whatever you think you deserve. Hold your neighbor. She's talking to you. You have exactly what you think you deserve. Do you realize that? So how do I get to think I deserve more than this? Yeah? Okay, I acknowledge that God is my source with my tithe. That's spiritual law number 1. Then we'll go through the others, and with each one you create more of a level of deserving within your own being. Yeah. So, the first I want to go back to what happened after what caused my double of my income. Because I mentioned this morning in a service, you remember, that I started these 2 businesses. I started my first business with a $2.75 classified ad. So here's what happened. The other 2 jobs, one of my jobs was, big title, Coordinator of Community Relations for the Conroe Independent School District, which meant essentially that I was the complaint department. If you had a problem, kindergarten through Board of Education, you came to me, and I'm supposed to make everything nice, okay? So as a result of that, I knew everybody in town, because I'd been somewhere to work out something with somebody. And I also learned a lot of really nice people skills, because I made a lot of mistakes, you know? And my other job was, I was a feature writer and a photographer for the local newspaper. So one day I'd been down to the courthouse, and I'd been working out something with a juvenile officer about one of our students who had a little problem with the law. And as I was getting ready to leave, I looked around the courthouse square, and I realized one of those epiphany moments, one of those eureka moments. Every business on this courthouse square opens their doors every single day by faith. The furniture store owner had no guarantee, somebody come buy a sofa. The jewelry store owner had no guarantee, somebody buy some jewelry. The bookstore lady had no guarantees. Every day, these faith-filled people got up and opened their doors. I never thought of that before. It seemed amazing to me to have that much faith. And I said out loud, I remember the day, I said, gosh, I'd like to do that. I'd like to do business that way. Well, you know how the universe works. I got home and I started thinking about my life, and I redid kind of a list of my skills, you know, my skill set, and my first degree is in journalism and advertising and public relations, and then I have all these people skills. I know everybody in town, and I know how to write, and I know how to take pictures, and so I looked in the phone book, and there was no advertising agency and no public relations agency. So I opened Informed Ideas Influence, a PR ad agency in Conroe, Texas, with a $2.75 classified ad, and my phone rang off the wall. Now, do you understand? I did not have a clue how to do this. And there was nobody helping me. I asked him for help, they didn't have time for me. So God and I had to do it by ourselves. And everything that I did turned to gold. Everything. Because I asked about every single move. Amazing things began to happen. I did the grand opening for the hospital. Huge bit of money there. I did political campaigns. Billboard, I didn't know how to do a billboard. I farmed it all out. I called a billboard company. Okay, that's what I need. Oh, we'll do that. You know, and so it's amazing. I got such a reputation for the lady who can get things done. And so everybody was wanting me. But I didn't know how to do it, but God knew how. You understand? So sometimes you just have to put on your big girl panties. You know? Step outside your tiny whities, fellow, and step outside your comfort zone. And do something you didn't know you could do. You know? Because God knows how. And if you're authentic and on purpose, and you're not trying to cheat anybody, you're trying to do the right thing, you will be divinely guided with every step. But it has to be fun. If it's not fun, it's not yours to do. Now here's a truth I want you to hear. You may not accept it, but I want you to hear it. If you're working at a job that you don't love, you're stealing somebody else's job. That's not your job. So either learn to love it or leave it. Or it'll kill you. I'm just saying. Just so you know, it'll make you sick and old and ugly. It's a lot cheaper than a facelift to change jobs. Yeah? You think I'm joking? I'm not. If you're in a job that you hate, I can't tell you the number of people who come to me and say, I hate my job, but I can't retire. I only have 4 years later, 4 years left until I retire and I get my retirement fund. And then they die before they retire. Yeah? The only time you can be sure of is right now. Only time you can be sure of is right now. Are you having a good time? If you're not, you're in the wrong place. Yeah? So, the first question I ordinarily get when I talk about tithing is this. Are we talking net or gross here? I can see it on your face. It's gross, so get off it. I get this question. Well, Edwene, I don't want to tithe my money. How about if I just tithe my time? A lot of church volunteers use this one. I'm just saying. Great, what you'll get back is all the time you need. But I notice when I go to pay for my groceries does not give a flying flip about my time. He wants my money. Do you want more money in your life? Of course you do if you're halfway sane. Money is here to serve us, not to be our master, to be our servant. I get this question. No, Edwene, you don't understand. I'm on a fixed income, or I'm on disability, or I'm on welfare, or I'm in school. Could I be excused? Dear heart, God knows nothing about a fixed income. If you're on a fixed income, sugar, you fixed it. You want to get it unfixed, you better tithe. You mean I tithe before I pay my bills? Of course you do. You honor Jehovah with the first fruits of your substance, not the last and the least and the leftovers. That first tenth is holy and must go back where you've been fed spiritually in order for you to prove to yourself that you believe that God is my source. Because if you're not a tither, you don't believe God is your source. You believe money is your source. You're worshiping money, not God. Yeah, but I'm afraid I won't be able to pay my bills. Well, honey, fear and faith cannot operate in the same mind at the same time. So you get to choose this day whom you will serve. Fear or faith. Take a deep breath. But you don't understand, Edwene, I'm so far in debt. Yeah? Well, you did that one pretty much on your own. What if God was involved? Do you think you might do better? Because if you keep doing what you're doing now, and you think things are going to get better, forget it. It's only when you have the courage and the wisdom and the faith to step outside your comfort zone and do the new thing. Yeah? So, every time I receive money, thank you, God. Where does this tithe go? Remind me where I've been fed. And I get it out quickly. There's one of two things going on in the universe at all times. There's either circulation or there's congestion. So if you have money in your system that's not tithed on, what you're saying to the universe is, hey, don't send me anymore because I haven't handled this spiritually yet. So you get it out quickly. Well, I can't go to church every week. And, honey, are you aware that the church can get mail? It's an amazing thing. The postman delivers mail, or they go to the post office and pick up their mail. They can get your tithe in the postal service. They're very good at that, you know? So no excuses. All the excuses come from a belief in lack. And as long as you believe in lack, you're going to live in lack. The quickest way to step out of the belief in lack is to trust God as source. Charles Fillmore says, and I repeat again, the moment that you begin to tithe, your faith is increased 100-fold. And just imagine what you could do with 100-fold more faith than you have right now. It's amazing that where I came from, that I live the life that I do today. It's because I put God first in every aspect of my life. Yeah? And I haven't suffered. Yeah? I haven't suffered by doing that. I've suffered by doing other things. I forgot God was in charge for a while. Any questions on tithing? Please feel free to ask anything that's up for you. There's no such thing as a dumb question. If you have a question, just raise your hand and stand up. I'm very nice. I won't bite you. I'll respect you and honor you. Sometimes, yes, please. Would you stand and say your name?
Yeah, I'm Mary Ann.
Mary Ann.
You started to answer this.
Yes.
What do you do if your entire life feeds your spirit?
Mm-hmm.
What, I mean, do you, you said you gave it to the waitress. Do you just spread it out?
Here's what I do. You know, as I said earlier, Mary Ann, first it comes into the money comes in, and I thank God for it, and then I ask in prayer, where does this tithe go? Where does this tithe go? And then I either send it to one church, or one minister, one teacher, one friend, whoever, or I divide it up and send a portion here, a portion here, a portion here, to make sure that everybody that I'm conscious of at this time gets a portion of my tithe. Yeah? Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Excellent. What else? Yes, please. Would you stand and say your name?
Hi, my name is Ellen.
Ellen.
Hi. You started to say, like, it was rough for the first 3 months. I was like, so how did you start getting all that stuff that, you know, you're talking about out of your head about tithing? And, like, how do you get to that point to where?
Oh, I'm with you. That was the hardest part, rather the first 3 months were the hardest part. And what I would do is, because I didn't have anybody working, it was a solo deal. Catherine Ponder, in a lot of her books, has a lot of affirmations, and I would write those affirmations out. I would say them. I would go and look in the mirror and say them to myself. And at that time, we used tape recorders. Remember those? I would tape them in my own voice, and I would listen to them as I went to sleep. You know, I would listen to them when I woke up in the morning when I'm getting ready for work. And every time I got in a fearful mood, I'd go back and read some Charles Fillmore, read some Catherine Ponder, or write out affirmations. Because I was so disappointed, Ellen, when I found out it was a do-it-yourself job. You know, when I first got into this, I thought, I'm going to find a guru, you know, and he'll hit me with a stick and I'll be enlightened. And I really did. I tracked them down. Went to Muktananda, any Ananda I could find, you know. And I had to do it myself. And that was the hardest part for me. Yeah, but you can do it. Yeah, listen to uplifting music, you know, whatever feeds your soul. Yeah. And I would talk to my daughter. Now, my daughter at the time when I first started this was about 5 or 6 years old. And I was trying to train her to keep her room clean. Just, you know, pick up your toys. And I went in one day, and I said, Maureen, honey, get in here and pick up your room. It's a mess. She says, divine order is established in my room. Thank you very much. So if you get your kids involved, they'll repeat back to you everything you want to hear. Yeah. Any other? Yes, please.
One time when I lived in Missouri, I was in the car with my son and he asked me for a new skateboard. And I said, I can't afford to buy you a new skateboard. And he said, what happened to all that prosperity crap?
They will nail you.
You got me.
I remember one time when I was in ministerial school. See, I got really wealthy, and then when I went to ministerial school, I lost it all. So it was a great initiation in putting God first. You know, it really was. But my daughter and I are now, and I've already promised to God I will never again work for money. I work for God, and money serves me. So my daughter and I got this divorce at the end of my time in ministerial school. Things were tough, you know. I mean, one little church in Michigan would send me $25 a month, and that was my grocery money for the whole month, you know. It was really, because I left that marriage, married to a very wealthy man, but I left that man with my car, and I think I had maybe $60. And so we're in this little apartment, and it's just a really tiny thing, and I'm in our bedroom studying for our final exam in ministerial school. We had a complete comprehensive final exam, and I wanted to make 100 on it because I had that kind of mind where I can do that. So I was really studying. Now, learning the names of the concubines of David and all that crap, excuse me, all that stuff. And so my daughter comes and bangs on the door, and at this time now she's about maybe 13, banging on the door. Mom, there's no food in our refrigerator, and I'm hungry. Ooh, guilty, guilty, guilty. You're supposed to feed your babies. I didn't have any money to go buy food. I said, okay, honey, give me a minute. I'm going to pray about it. She says, oh, great. That's what God says best in the first place. She didn't want me to go to ministerial school. She didn't like that at all. It tore up her life, you know. So I said, okay, let me just pray about it. She slams the door. I said, okay, God, now looky here. I'm your lady. You told me that if I do what I'm doing, you will open the windows of heaven for me. Now, you've done it once, you can do it again, and I'm calling on it right now. The phone rang. Swear to God, it was Safeway grocery store. They said, are you Miss Edwene Gaines? I said, yes. Congratulations. You just won $100 worth of food at Safeway. What? I said, I didn't even enter any kind of a contest. He said, well, we had a $25 winner, a $50 winner, and you're the big winner of $100 worth of food. I said, can I come get it now? He said, come right on over. Man, I went sailing out of that bedroom, right up in my daughter's face. I said, thank you, God, thank you, God. We just won $100 worth of food at Safeway. Thank you, God. My daughter said, God, my foot. I stood over there and filled out 100 of those suckers. See, this little 14-year-old kid taking care of her very severely challenged mother. Fun times. Yeah. So, questions on tithing? Yes, please.
I'm going to ask this.
Would you stand so I can see you and we can hear you better? Thank you. What's your name?
I'm Barbara, and I've been real comfortable with tithing at net.
Well, good for you. God,
And
just
it's
trying to
been flowing okay, but I don't know about the growth.
well, let me just
So there's a gap.
I want to remind you of something you may have forgotten. That Jesus the Christ did not come to make you comfortable. He came to make you uncomfortable. And now's the time for you to be uncomfortable enough to say, how big do I want to play? If you're satisfied with the status quo, tickles me. But if you know who you are and you really want to play bigger, it's time to step up to the plate. Because God has amazing gifts for us. And if you're satisfied with the flow, there's no reason to change. But Charles Fillmore tells us that we have challenges in order for our faith to grow. So just because you get on this pathway doesn't mean you won't have challenges. Of course you will. It doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It just means it's time for your faith to expand to a larger level. Yeah? So just, if you're fine with your life, tickles me. Yeah? Only you know. Only you know. And nobody knows but you. Nobody can tell you anything. You have to self-examine, go into prayer and ask, is this mine to do? Is it mine to step up now and play at a larger level? Am I really playing at the level I came to play? Am I really giving my own magnificence to the world in the way I want to give it? And just see what your answers are. Because I know that if your tithe grows, amazing amazing things will happen. Let me tell you one of the amazing things that happened for me. So I had one of my goals, after my book came out, my book did really well in all the New Thought circles, and it still is. Unity, religious science, divine science, a lot of the independent New Thought churches. It's still selling very, very well. But I came to a position where I really wanted to sell in the public market. You know, I wanted Baptists and Catholics and unchurched people to read my book. And so I did the visualization, did the goal setting process we'll go through in a moment. So what happened is that the first thing that happened is I was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm. And 5 neurosurgeons in the South gave up on me. They said, we can't operate, it's too dangerous a position, and it's quite large, and it's right here. And I was surprised because they found it sort of by accident, no such thing, because I had taken a medication that evidently I was allergic to. They were trying to find out what was going on. That's when they, by accident, found the aneurysm. And so all these neurosurgeons were just, you know, they were just very sorry, but go and make a will. You know, that's about all we can tell you to do. Get your affairs in order. You might have 5 years, we don't know. But don't sneeze because, you know, you're that fragile. Well, I had no symptoms, so it was really a total shock to me. So I was guided to go down to Brazil to see the healer, John of God. And John of God healed me in one 40-minute session. And I had no longer a brain aneurysm. They came back and had the MRIs, the CAT scans, and a perfectly normal brain. So 6 months later, I decided to take 20 people back down to Brazil to see John of God as an act of gratitude. You know, because these are people who needed healing, and I wanted to share my gratitude to God for healing me. So we were loading on the plane in Atlanta. They've all chosen to sit back in the back, and I'm sitting in first class. And my seat partner just turns out to be the senior editor of Oprah magazine, who's going down to write a story about John of God and his healings. So she took my picture, wrote my story, and I was in the December issue about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And she mentioned my book, and my book sales went through the roof. It's amazing. So you don't know how things are going to happen, but once you set your intention, God works them out. Yeah, it's an amazing world we live in. So all of those things, I could have, if I had not been doing what I'm doing, Barbara, I might have gotten on that plane and sat next to her and never had a conversation. You see what I'm talking about? Or I might have taken a different flight. But somehow God worked it out so the two of us would be right there, seated next to each other. And we became very good friends before I knew who and what she was. Yeah? And before she knew who and what I was. It's amazing, isn't it? It's astonishing how God can work out these wonderful synchronistic events for us. Any other questions on tithing before we continue? Yes, please. What's your name?
Darlene, and this is just a comment.
Yes.
I came from a fundamentalist background
Yes.
as well. It opened a lot of doors for me when
Yes.
I heard you first say that you tithe where your soul is fed.
Yes.
And that still opens a lot of doors
Yes,
for
good
me.
for you, Marlene. I'm glad. Yeah. Because if you're fed here in this ministry, your tithe belongs here. Yes. Would you stand and say your name, please?
I'm Lisa Hickman, and I wanted to let y'all know that last year when I came to Reverend Gaines' workshop, I decided to do the 10% thing is what I call it. I said, what the hell, it can't hurt. And I'm a CPA by profession, and my gross receipts increased by the amount of money that I actually was able to give my church, which is Union of Savannah. So it does work.
Good for you. Congratulations. What's your name?
Lisa.
Lisa. That's wonderful. It's amazing how it works. Any other questions on tithing? Yes, please.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Yes.
One question. I mean,
Yes.
how does your belief system work into this? You know, the thoughts plus the feelings plus your
Yes,
action.
yes, yes.
If your belief system, and I'm not trying to get out
No,
of
no.
time, I'm just asking the question, how does your belief system come into this? If you believe in tithing, it works. If you don't believe in it, it doesn't?
Well, I've had people come to me and they say, I'm going to prove to you that this doesn't work. I said, you can do that. You can absolutely do that.
Because of the belief system.
But I do believe that if your heart's in the right place and you really want to believe it, you know, the disciples of Jesus Christ prayed, Lord, increase our faith. Yeah, so I pray for my increase in my faith, and Mr. Fillmore says that once you start to tithe, your faith is increased 100-fold. Yeah? But I still believe in some way that this is a law. I think it's a law, and I think in some way it blesses you. Maybe you won't be able to see it or not if you do it, even if you don't believe it. But if you set out to prove it doesn't work, you can prove that.
Well, it seems there's obviously, I mean, it's been all over the world, coming from all different kinds of cultures, it's got to be a reason.
Yeah. And most of the people who don't believe it works are tithing.
Yeah. All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, please. What's your name?
Oh, Peggy.
Peggy.
Peggy. And I've been listening to you for years, and so I finally said, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to kind of have a movement or get off the pot. And I have had blessing after blessing. I think everybody in this church knows the blessing I've had.
Yes.
But in a month, when I fall short, or when something falls short, how do you keep from the self-doubt or the what am I doing wrong type thing? When financially things do kind of fall short, I mean, you do try to increase your faith, and if you increase your faith, sure enough, before you know it, something falls out of the sky, and you're more blessed than you ever thought you would be. But in no self-doubt, do you increase your prayer?
I
know
have an
one
answer.
time I heard you say, give more.
I have an answer.
Give more.
If you'll let me talk, I have an answer. Okay, Peggy, I can't see your face, so would you stand so I can see your face while I'm talking? Here's my answer. I want you all to hear this, all right? It's very important. That was a master question you asked. You've heard this before. I want you to hear it at a whole new level. As you give, so shall ye also receive. That puts me absolutely in charge of my receiving. Because as I give, I receive. So if I'm not receiving enough, it means that I'm not giving enough. So let's say I've already tithed. What else can I give? Well, I can take some clothes out of my closet that I'm not wearing to the Goodwill and Salvation Army. I can take some food to the food bank, you know, some canned goods. And please, for God's sake, they don't need any more green beans, all right? Taking some protein, some peanut butter, or some tuna fish or something. I can call up people that I have a great deal of gratitude toward and tell them how much they mean in my life. There are all sorts of ways to give. And if you're not receiving enough, it means you're not giving enough. Now, I'm focusing on tithing because most people have a big problem with that. But folks, please hear me. Tithing is the beginning of giving, not the end of giving. Tithing is Dick and Jane, Barney, Dora the Explorer giving, all right? It's like here, pre-K giving. It's just the basis for beginning to give. Now, I give a whole lot more than 10%. 10% always goes where I'm fed spiritually. And then I have at least 100 charities that I give to, you know? But that's over and above the 10th. You do not give your tithe to charity. The mystics say if you give your tithe to need, you're creating need in your own life. So make sure that you pray about it and you give it where you're fed. Then over and above that, you give wherever you want to go give. Yep. Does that help you? Yes, ma'am. Good. Yes, because there come times right now, even now, as much as as high as my income is, there come times when like some big bills all come due at the same time, you know? And so, okay, what am I not giving? What am I withholding? And I pray about it, and then I start give more money, give more time, give more energy, give more compliments, give some of my jewelry away, whatever I need to give, I'm willing to give it. Because what I know is Emerson is absolutely right. Emerson wrote, you cannot outgive God. And I challenge you to try. I challenge you to try. Yes, sir. It's Jeff, isn't it?
Yeah. Does it matter why you're giving it?
I don't
You know,
know.
why you're tithing?
I don't know whether it matters why or not.
That's more, I'm probably call it the church people when they're tithing to call it. Motivation behind the tithe, does that matter at all? Or just the action of it? Tithe.
I don't give because my church needs it. I give to my church because it feeds me. Yeah? Now, churches have bills like everybody else. You know, somebody's got to pay the light bill. Somebody's got to pay the cleaning bill. Somebody mops the floors, you know. Somebody has to tend to the gardens and the grounds. So, you know, somebody's got to pay the minister's salary. Somebody's got to pay the salary of the staff and buy music for the musicians. There's a lot of expenses in running a church. But I don't give to any church because they need it. I give it because they feed me. And it's a change of attitude here, really, you know. Now, if they call me and say, we need this, I rarely give to them. You know, I rarely do. But I believe that churches have a responsibility to share the expenses of the church with the community because it's our church. You know, it's not just the board's church, it's our church. And so if you want to be a part of the community, you want to make sure the bills are paid. Yeah? But you're not tithing to pay bills. You're tithing because you're fed spiritually here. Okay? Now let's say that you want to tithe to someplace else. Well, you still want to make sure that your portion of the bills get paid here. Yeah? So over and above the tithe, you want to give here. Yeah? That's my view. That's my feeling. Does that make sense to you, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah, good, good, good. What else? Yes, please. Would you stand and say your name?
My name's Jenny. I own the ice cream truck right outside, and I always give EMS police officers, firefighters, a complimentary ice cream just to say thank you. I'm grateful for you. Thanks for watching out. And so as I was doing that yesterday, I was giving some homeless some ice cream out at Forsyth Park. A police officer, the same police officer I always have problems with, writes me a citation. And immediately it makes me angry and like, police officers are never going to get any more free ice cream. It makes me immediately angry and I could have strangled her at that moment. I was so angry. And I really had to take a moment and calm down and breathe and, you know, try to beam her with my white light and try to stay calm. And, you know, in the meantime, she's not selling anything. You know, she was just very nasty. How do you deal with the situation? I thought I was doing good by telling police officers and everybody that I was thankful and grateful, and then I get something nasty happen like that. How do you?
Okay, a master teaching here, hear me. And this one is one that Don Miguel Ruiz teaches. Take nothing personally. It had nothing to do with you. It was her stuff, or his stuff. So, if you're going to operate at the highest level, you pray for this person. Yeah, I know. Well, let me tell you what's even harder. Jesus the Christ said this. This isn't just Edwene. But preachers don't teach this very much. Love your enemy. Do good to those who despitefully use you. Bless them that curse you, and pray for them. Yeah?
Amen.
So, you got that experience to learn that lesson. Yeah, you hear what I'm saying? It wasn't punishment. It was just saying, okay, sweetheart, Miss Jenny, let's move you on up to play at the highest level. So, you might want to take some time to forgive yourself for your reaction to her. I mean, or I don't know, if it was a woman or a man.
I did offer her free ice cream. I did. She
Good.
refused, but at least I did.
Well, you know, anybody who turns down ice cream, you kind of wonder. Just saying.
So I should be grateful for her.
Yeah, and notice how it pushed your buttons. See, when you don't have any buttons, nobody can push them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's give up our buttons. Nobody can offend me without my permission. Yeah? Good. Okay. Spiritual law number 2. We're required to forgive everybody all the time, especially ourselves. How many of you right now know you have some forgiveness work to do? It's time to do it. Let's see those hands. All right, good. Here's a test to see if you have any forgiveness work left to do at all. Do you still have a body? Pretty good giveaway right there. Now, I mentioned this morning, and I want to review it with you because I think it's a wonderful technique. Every night before I go to sleep, I ask myself in prayer, have I put anyone outside my heart today? And usually I have. There's some poor soul that did not get all my rules written down so they could obey them. Then, and I still just kind of put them out of my heart right away. And I'm getting better at it, but in the evening, when I see that what I've done, I actually invite them back into my heart. I forgive myself for being so judgmental, so self-righteous, so self-important. And then I take a look to see what's the situation. And for me, as I said, it's always a control issue. I know how you ought to behave. And I got to tell you, this political situation that we've been through for over a year has given me a lot of practice. Yeah, a lot of practice. And I'm really ready to give up the practice. I'm ready to begin to see with new eyes. Yeah? So, here's the key for me. To recognize immediately when I put somebody outside my heart, and right then, change it around. Because I really know that they're doing the best they know how to do. If they had known better, they would have done better. Just as I have always done the best I knew how to do. And I've made a lot of mistakes, I've made a lot, but I've done a lot of forgiveness work too. And sometimes forgiveness is easy, and sometimes it's really hard. I was a sexually abused child, and as a young adult, I was raped, and I had a lot of anger and frustration and guilt and shame about all that. And as a young adult, I found myself telling my story to anybody who would listen, and getting a lot of, oh, babies, oh, honey, and kind of eating that up. And I was at a workshop one time where I was a student, and the teacher was up front, and he invited us to tell our stories, or any portion of it we want to, so I'm up there telling my sad story, and everybody's going, oh. And so during the break, he called me up to the front to talk with me privately, and I thought, well, he's going to, give me some sympathy and hug up on me and comfort me, and I'm kind of pleased with all that. And I walk up there, and he holds me by the shoulders, looked me straight in the eyes, and said, Edwene, this victim stuff has gone far enough, Toots. He said, it's really a drag, and it's boring the tears out of the rest of us. Well, I went home and I prayed for him. And thank God I had the good sense to realize that he had something to teach me. So I began to work with him. Now this healing that came about in my work with him did not happen overnight. It took quite some time. But as we came close to the healing part of it, he said to me, Edwene, in order to release this childhood trauma, what we have to do is create a new story about it. Well, I didn't know what he was talking about. I've learned since that that's what psychologists mean when they talk about reframing something. And I didn't know what he was talking about. So he said, let me help you. He said, let's say, for example, that you came onto this planet to be a woman of power. And because your soul chose that pathway, your soul also chose to take an initiation in the misuse of power. He said, you know what it feels like when power is abused? It's dreadful. He said, you know what it feels like when power is misused? He said, it's horrible. He said, you passed that initiation. It's now safe for you to be a woman of power in the world because you know that you would never, ever misuse nor abuse your power. And in that process, you've gained that most valuable of all spiritual gifts, the understanding heart. So I invite you, if you have trauma, that you find a way to make yourself a winner instead of a loser. I don't know whether that's true or not. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. I tell it so that I don't slip my wrists. You understand what I'm saying? because it is so typical in people who've been abused to take responsibility for it, even though they were children. And you didn't do it. Yeah, you didn't do it. You're not guilty. Yeah. So find a way to tell the story so that you get to be the winner instead of the loser. And I do know that I am a woman of power, and I do know that I have an understanding heart. And I know that I have forgiven the perpetrator. Take a look and see. How many of you had parents? Do you realize that your parents gave you all the love they were capable of giving you, coming from their background, their experience? If they had known better, they would have done better. Now, I know some of it was pretty pitiful, but they did the best they knew how to do, coming from their background, their experience. Your parents gave them all the love that they were capable of giving. How many of you are parents? You wish you'd been a better parent? I know I do. Oh my gosh, I'd bake more cookies, I'd go to more PTA meetings, you know, but I did the best I could do. And I have forgiven myself. And you have to forgive yourself because you did the best you know how to do. You're not guilty. All those things that you're embarrassed about or ashamed of or feel guilty about, you're not guilty. Because at the time, you acted on the best information you had to do what you need to do to survive. When you were born, nobody slapped a manual in your hand and said, this is how you live your life. And most of us were born to imperfect parents, who, as I said, did the best they knew how to do. So let yourself off the hook. You made it here. Every step of your journey has been absolutely necessary to bring you right here, right now. Every step. You are not guilty. How many of you have an ex or 2 or 40 or 97? I've lived a long time. So, close your eyes for just a moment and think about your exes. If there's any feeling there other than love and appreciation, what you're doing is sending out the invisible fishing line with a big hook on the end, and you're rolling somebody just like them back into your life. Your exes came to you because you sent them an engraved invitation at the soul level. They came because they had something to teach you and something to learn from you. If you got the lesson, then you have love and appreciation for them. If you did not get the lesson, guess what? You get to repeat it over and over and over until you get it. So right now would be a really good time to let them off the hook, to just send them love, realizing that they really did all they knew to do. The only problem with my exes, and I've had more than my share, is that they were not the people I wanted them to be. They had the very nerve to be themselves. How dared they? You see, that's what we're saying. I'm mad at you because you wouldn't be who I wanted you to be. Yeah. Nobody can betray you unless you're betraying yourself. Nobody can steal from you unless you're stealing from yourself. No one can lie about you unless you're lying about yourself. You see? What you send out, you get back, honey. That's the law of karma. That's what happens. So I want to give you another master forgiveness technique. Not everyone will want to do this. It's not an easy thing to do. In fact, it's somewhat tedious to do. I had a very, very difficult divorce, last divorce. It was 20 years ago now. And it was really, really painful. I did not expect it. It wasn't my idea. And I was surprised to find out during the divorce that my ex-husband had a girlfriend for the last 4 years of our marriage that everybody in the community knew about except me. And I was angry. And smoke was coming out my ears. And I wish I could say that everything is unfolding in a loving and harmonious manner. Not exactly what I said. And yet I knew I had to forgive. And I am full of rage about this. And I would say things, I forgive you, you sorry son of a, no, I can't. And I would say the affirmation, I forgive you and I set you free, and 2 minutes later I'd be mad again. And I just didn't know how to get there. And I'm asking God, please, what do I do here? So I went back to my concordance and I looked up every single forgiveness scripture in the Bible. And I came to one in the New Testament where the disciples come to Jesus and they say, essentially this is not the way the Bible wrote it, but this is what they said. It said, how many times we forgive these so-and-sos? What did he say? 70 times 7. Well, great. How do you do that? How do you forgive somebody 70 times 7? I don't know how to do that. I kept, how do you do that? So finally I just took it literally. Got me a notebook, got me a pen, and I wrote out, I, Edwene, forgive what's his name completely. 35 times in the morning, 35 times in the evening for 7 days. Man, I cried a lot of tears during that. Amazing things happened. Next week it felt so good I did myself. I had a lot of tears then. Next week I did my father. Next week I did my mother. 35 times in the morning, 35 times in the evening. I, Edwene, forgive my mother completely, etc. like that. When I got through with everybody in my family, I started on all my previous relationships. It took a couple of years actually to do that. I've lived a long time. Amazing things happened. At the end of my writing all that out, I was completely debt-free. I paid off a 30-year mortgage on my retreat center in 7 years. No debt, no car payment. I used my credit cards, but I paid them off completely every month. I had no debt of any kind, and I haven't been in debt now for almost 20 years. Because I keep a clean heart. You created me a clean heart, oh Lord, remember the scripture? Created me a clean heart. And if you're ever moody and say, oh, don't talk to her, she's in a bad mood, that means you need to forgive. Probably yourself, probably somebody else. But nobody can put you in a bad mood except yourself. And you get in a bad mood when your heart isn't clean. And the very wonderful cure for a moodiness is forgiveness. Yeah. So we're going to do a little process in a moment for forgiveness. But do you have any questions about forgiveness that you'd like to ask? Anything up for you? Yes, please. What's your name?
Gita.
What is it?
Gita.
Gita.
When you do this 35 times in the morning and 35 times at night for 7 days, let's just say I forgive my husband. Do you state what you're forgiving him for?
No, I don't. Just completely.
Just
I,
say-
Edwene, forgive Joanne or Joe completely.
Oh, completely?
That's it.
Just use the word completely. That covers
Everything. Everything. Everything.
And it takes 7 days and it works?
70 times 7. 70 times 7.
And
So
it
that's
works.
35. It works if you work it.
But that's it. You just
That's
say
it.
I forgive.
You don't have to do anything more than that.
Even if you don't believe it at the time you're saying.
I know what you want me to say, but what I'm trying to say is this. It works if you allow it to work. But if you write it out and you still start cursing him quietly, it's going to come back. Yeah?
You may not believe it when you first do it.
You
but
go
it
ahead and
is-
write it out.
It will come to you.
It'll come to you, or you write it again. If it's not through, you do it another week. Or you keep doing it until it works.
And you know it works when?
When you can relate to them or with them without any kind of negativity.
Okay. I guess I'm having a problem because you mentioned you were divorced a few times.
Yes.
Is there a point where you know you can forgive them, but it's time to go on?
Absolutely.
And that's okay?
It's okay.
Forgive
I'm
them.
friends with all my ex-husbands. Yeah, and some of the things they did were just really pitiful. But, you know, I probably needed them in order to learn my own power. You know? I know you want to do this, and I can
Oh,
trust
I
you.
do.
You can do
Because I am in a miserable
Okay,
place, because
so-
I do have, I need to forgive.
The only guarantees I can give you are the guarantees that once you take one step toward it, God will take 1,000,000 steps toward you. Yeah. Trust the process. Trust the process.
I will have to go with that.
Yeah, that's all I can, because I can't guarantee, because I don't know what your thoughts and feelings are. See, only you know that. But if your intentions are pure, and you really intend to forgive and let go of any anger or disappointment, or a sense of betrayal, or if you can let go of all of that, and your heart is clean with this person, then
Because I want to do it for myself. I'm not doing it for him. or
No,
my dad, or my
no.
mom, for
it
you.
doesn't matter how he acts, he can still be the same so-and-so he always was, you know? It's not about his changing his behavior, it's about changing yours. Yeah, yes, please. We'll come back to you.
So, can I ask this? I can forgive him. You said you were friends with all your
I
exes.
am.
And some of my exes I am too. I can forgive him, but I don't necessarily have to be their friend.
No, you don't have to. No, the young man who raped me, you know, I understand that he was doing the best he knew how to do, coming from his background and experience, and I have forgiven him completely. But am I going to have lunch with him? No, I'm not. But if he came to me and asked for forgiveness, that'd be a different story. But I've learned not to hang out with toxic people. Yeah, I just don't do it. Yes, please. What's your name?
My name is Angela.
Speak real loud, Angela.
I said, my name is Angela. And I sometimes it takes me a little while to forgive somebody, but I forgive people pretty quickly. But I have a really bad hard time forgiving myself.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. So, Angela, what makes you so special? If you can forgive everyone else, you must be much more special than them if you can't forgive yourself. You know what? I want to tell you out front, because I love you, and I know you're a woman of power, you can handle this stuff. That's ego talking. Ego does not want you to forgive yourself, because that's the way ego keeps you playing small. So you go into, oh, but my God, I should have been perfect, and oh my God, honey, welcome to the human race. You know, we've all done stupid, ignorant stuff, have we not?
Yes, we have.
We've all said things we wish we hadn't said. We've done things we don't want our Nana to know about. So what's your payoff for not forgiving yourself? I'll tell you what your payoff is. Your payoff is you don't have to play with the big kids. So forgive yourself and get off it. You're not that special. You got it? You would forgive me, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So what makes you more special than me?
I feel like I should do better.
Well, you should do better, but you can't do better in the past. It's already done. So you're going to carry that. It's like carrying a dead goat on your shoulder. That stinks after a while. Yeah? So let me talk to you like your great aunt. You have done some naughty things, my darling, and so have I. So let's just hide and do nothing to make this a better world, because we're not worth it. That's what you're doing. And I need people who will help me and help us do this work. I don't need people whining about why they're guilty about the past. Yes, boom, 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 you get over it. Yeah? Can you do that? Can you do that today? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. We hang on to the pain of the past because it serves us. It serves you because it allows you to keep playing small when there's a lot of work to be done. So get off it. Yeah? Yes, please. Say your name.
I'm Iris.
Iris.
Yes. I've done the forgiveness exercise many times. And my experience is all the other effects that I didn't realize were going to happen. Because when I would write, I didn't really focus on the person. Whatever name would come to my mind, that's who I would write.
Yes.
And I had done the exercise a couple of times, had completed it. And I ran into someone who we did not previously have a loving relationship with. And when I ran into that person, I was so happy to see her, and I spoke to her, and that came through. And I could see she was very taken aback that I approached her like that. And I realized, oh my goodness, this has changed inside without me even having thought of her. It happened. So that it is, I really appreciate that.
It works for me, I'm telling you, it absolutely works. Thank you, God. All right, one more quick technique, and that is, somebody asked me the question one time, how do you forgive people who passed on, they're no longer here? We can do it with this writing technique, or there's a letter writing technique that I know you've probably heard of, but I do mine a little bit differently. I write them a letter of 3 paragraphs. Paragraph number 1, these are the ways that you helped me and taught me and loved me and showed me that I was valuable. You know, Aunt Mary, you taught me how to cook, you showed me how to make biscuits, you taught me how to garden, you showed me how to can, you took me shopping, thank you, Aunt Mary, thank you. Second paragraph, here's the ways that you hurt me. You used to scold me in front of other people. You would call me names. You would swat me with a fly swatter, you know, just whatever. And then paragraph 3 is a paragraph of I forgive you completely and I ask you to completely forgive me. And then you have a little ceremony. What I do is a little burning bowl and just burn it all up into ashes. And a friend of mine who's a Unity minister as well, she takes a flare pen and she writes her letters on toilet paper. And guess what she does with it? It's just a ceremony. It's symbolic of releasing something. Yes. So, if you will, take everything off your lap. Here's a statement that Mr. Fillmore used to use when he opened the Silent Unity Healing meetings over 130 years ago. He would say, after I say it to you, I'm asking you to say it with me. Mr. Fillmore would say, the healing love of Jesus Christ has set me free. Together. The healing love of Jesus Christ has set me free. Take a deep breath now and allow this breath to move through the body. Focus your attention now on your heart space. Begin to breathe in and out as if you're breathing in and out through your heart. Breathing in love and breathing it out. Breathing in more love than you've ever let into your body before, and then breathing it out. The healing love of Jesus Christ has set me free. Together. The healing love of Jesus Christ has set me free. Breathing in love and breathing it out. Breathing in love, let it circulate throughout the body, untying knots, erasing dark spots, and then breathe it out gently. Breathing in love and breathing it out. The healing love of Jesus Christ has set me free. Together. The healing love of Jesus Christ has set me free. Breathing in love and breathing it out. Now give yourself this gift by affirming, I forgive myself completely. Together. I forgive myself completely. Feel how good that feels. Now own it and affirm, I am forgiven. Together. I am forgiven. Feel what that feels like. No more guilt, no more shame. Completely forgiving myself. Feeling forgiven. And now call to mind those ones that you know it's time for you to forgive. Maybe it's an ex or a parent or a sibling or a neighbor, other relative, bosses, co-workers, employees, Internal Revenue, Catholic Church, next door neighbor, drivers, politicians, anybody that comes to mind. Speak this word. The healing love of Jesus Christ has set you free. Together. The healing love of Jesus Christ has set you free. Now release them. Release them to their highest good. Bless them on the way. Thank them for being your teacher. Father, Mother God, we thank you that forgiveness is possible and that we embrace it now, totally and completely. We are free and forgiven for all mistakes of the past, and we forgive everybody, everywhere. In the name of all that's holy, we let this word be so, and so it is. Amen. Deep breath. As you come back into this room, I invite you to turn to someone seated nearby you and speak these words with power and authority. You are forgiven. Would you do that, please? You are forgiven. Now another deep breath. Now turn to someone else and speak it this way this time. You are forgiven. Now get off it. All together now. I'm off it. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, at the back table, there's some of the products that I brought along. We have the book on audio. The book is for sale in the bookstore. When they sell out, we have a few more in here, but buy them first.
We're out.
Oh, we're out?
Yeah.
All right. Did you already got them out? Okay.
We've got 7 left.
7 left. All right, I'll be happy to sign them for you. I do want to call your attention to a CD that Reverend Dale mentioned this morning. I have one back there called Deep Profound Forgiveness. And if you have any financial debt at all, I urge you to consider getting that one. I know it will help you. And there's another one that I want to remind you of. It's called the Goddess Meditation. And the Goddess Meditation is for men as well as women. It's about having a meeting with the Divine Mother who assists us in working on issues of self-love, self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth. Now, the little green sheet that you got called Prosperity Products is a listing of all the others, and you may find some that interest you there, that call to you. Follow your own guidance, and make sure that you don't buy something because you want to make me feel good. Buy something that makes you feel good. And if you don't want anything there, I'm cool with that. You know, I'm really clear God is my source. Yeah? So we're going to take, when you look at the clock back there, when the big hand is on the 12th, we're going to start again. All right? I'll see. When we come back, we're talking about goal setting. I'll show you how to get everything you want, and then spiritual law number 4. About 12 minutes. I'll see you then.